Alright, so I started recording the other day, got a little bit of footage. I'm not sure if I'm going to use that because it probably just overlap with today. But I'm going to start new, get a lot of stuff done today, edit this tonight, get it up all in one day. So, let's go over what we got going on. I got my transmission in, so this is kind of like the final position of the motor. I moved it forward slightly, and it also tilted it a little bit, so I'm gonna have to like notch the fan shroud to fit. Not a big deal. I could move the motor back, but the oil pan is gonna hit the cross member. I don't really want to cut it, so we'll see what we can do. Still need to get a header, but this one's on and fits beautifully. If you notice, the motor actually sits a little bit to the left. It's kind of hard to tell on camera, but it's the way the mounts are made. My trans, like I said, the trans is in. I have to smash out the tunnel to fit these linkages. I completely didn't see this coming. Put the trans in. The tunnel's so tight that the trans fits, but the linkages have to go on the side of the transmission, if you noticed in my last video. And the tunnel's too tight right now, so I'm gonna hammer that back today. Put my starter in today. That way I can do my wiring. Ordered a new distributor. I got a Pertronics, I think it's called. Flamethrower 3. Pretty much like ignition system. It's like a small cap distributor with, it's not HEI, it's their own chip ignition module, which has like a programmable rev limiter and stuff, which is, I really want it because I want to be able to keep the motor as safe as possible, especially drifting, because you ever been drifting, you know, like once you like start drifting, you hit limiter and you just like mash it because you're just focused on shredding. So getting that in next week. So I just got the car up in the air. Went to test fit my starter, which actually has a good bit of clearance on this setup. It actually fit perfectly between the rack and the bell housing, but it didn't bolt up. So originally I thought it was a bell housing issue possibly, because this is the scatter shield, not the stock cast bell housing, but I checked eBay and my dumbass ordered the wrong starter. So the other starters, basically this is offset more outward because I ordered for the wrong size flywheel. So I'm gonna try and sell this online because I've had it for months. I can't return it. And I just ordered a new one. Should be here next week with my package from Summit with my ignition. I will show you guys the transmission. It looks as if it's a little bit crooked. I'm gonna have to like tweak everything, but this mount actually didn't fit. I had to cut and flip this to the other side and weld it. So you guys can criticize my welds there. Not too shabby, but re-welded that. I had to like elongate these holes on the mount to make it fit, but it's in there now. The linkages mount on the outside of these brackets and have to go back, and as you can see there's like no clearance. So, and then there's literally like zero clearance here. So gonna have to try and maybe bend the brackets and hammer this back as much as I can. And the shifter might be able to line up, and it mounts right here, so it's gonna be a little bit ahead, but I actually should be able to make that work with just a swept back shifter arm. I thought I was gonna need to relocate it, but if I get an angled shifter arm, it should work. Might interfere with my hydro setup, but I'm thinking about doing a new hydro setup anyway, so we'll see once I like test fit it, see where it's gonna be. Might be able to just make little angle iron brackets and extend the rods, but I'm gonna get up there, drop the trans a little bit and hammer that back, and I'll be right back with you guys. Something a little unexpected happened here. I was up here hammering this out. See, it's a little bit more dented. I got this bolted in so that these two edges don't pinch in or move out, so this still lines up. We're making some progress. I'm hitting it, something starts falling, and this happens. So, took my sway bar off. Apparently that's what always hold it up. These brackets are flipped. This is supposed to be up here, so it goes lower. And it used to catch a couple of the threads, but apparently it must have worn out or something, and the threads are no longer catching because that just fell off. And I tied it up so that way the line doesn't have pressure. The line was actually holding it up. I don't want to have to buy another one of those. It's probably not expensive, but it's just inconvenient to ruin a good part when I can hopefully preserve it. So next, after I hammer out this trans tunnel, which I dropped by myself, that was a bitch, but I'm gonna fix that because it needs to be flipped anyway. to raise the car a little bit, and it's also probably going to help suck up or help accommodate for the extra weight in the front with the ride height. And I plan on running a more functional height this time around, because it was really cool last time being that low, but I'd rather be functional. So yeah, and just real quick, a quick really cool thing about these is the trans unbolts off the bell housing super easy. And if you know, if you ever tried to take an SR or a KA bell housing off, you actually have to split the transmission case. Like, the bell housing is basically like the front cover of the transmission as well. Makes it a real pain to switch, but these unbolt right off, and you can drop your trans separate from unbolting that bell housing and getting those bolts around the top, which are usually hard to get. Cool thing about American cars, just thought I'd mention it. But we're gonna get back to hammering and then test fitting this once someone gets here to help me pick it up. So the linkage should clear now from what I saw. Haven't got the trans fully in, it's still being a pain. Need someone to help me, but the shifter is offset on the transmission, so the firewall or the tunnel has to be pushed back behind the mounts as well. So I have to hammer that back now. I don't suggest you do this. You should not beat your car on lift, because it's still a light car. You might knock it off the lift or something. Don't do this, but we're gonna try. Should be good now. Alright, so I got the trans back in. It's not fully in right now. Well, it's not like bolted in, I should say. It's just kind of sitting in here, so I'm just gonna start this bolt in here so that it cannot fall out. Let me just hold the camera real weird for a second. Alright. Now, did it myself, got it in here. If you look, when we push up, we're actually going to clear once those get over. I just have to cut the hole to fit this. So I got the car all lowered down, at least low enough so my wheel doesn't hit the ground. And what I gotta do is take out this plate, because this is what mounts this. Take off the shifter bezel, and then we're gonna see what we have to cut down here to make it fit. But it looks like the e-brake mount is gonna be in the way, so didn't want to have to move that, but we might have to, because it might be easier than extending those linkages. We're going to check it out right now. I don't know if you guys can tell, it is freaking smoky in here. Right at the end, a little bit of carpet flashed up, and the sound deadening got hot, so it's smoking now. It smells toxic as shit in here, but we should be able to make it work. That's the good freaking news. Oh, and I'm not going to die, I hope, or burn up in here. That's the other good news. So I'll get it back underneath and check back in with you guys. Alright, so I've been kind of sucking with filming, but I've had the trans in and out, cut more, bent more, hammered more, pulled the trans out again. So this will be the final fit, I'm hoping. I had to get in there with the angle grinder, which is why I had to come out. I'm probably dirty as hell. Got my welding lid on. This towel, bro, if y'all ever never done overhead welding, man, or even I was just grinding overhead and it was burning my head. I have like no hair, so threw this on to protect my head. Here's what we're working with. There's a small tear in the tunnel right here, like it cut too far, and then when I hammered it, it tore. So I'm just gonna weld these back together to prevent the tearing any further. It should be hammered and cut as much as it needs to be. I really hope so, because it's been a bitch so far, man. But if this is the final fit, I can start making the shifter handle inside. I'm going to be done for the night, but tomorrow this will get addressed, and both of them will get flipped over. And this also has to get cut off, the bottom flange of this. And I'm going to make a dust shield out of sheet metal to fill this, so hopefully not too much gets in there. But the flywheel actually does hang like a tad lower than the pan, which is why I'm going with a way more functional ride height to eliminate any of those problems. God forbid it does get hit, I'll have to switch over to a different flywheel. It's smaller, but when the motor's in the proper spot, it's sagging right now, so it's even lower, and everything's together, it shouldn't be an issue. So I'm gonna weld this up, throw the trans back in, and get back to you guys. Alright, so I'm gonna show you guys this setup before I drop it. I got the trans in, the shifter is fitting, the little crack in the trans tunnel is welded up, even though it was an absolute bitch and my welder blew it apart a couple times. I want to show you guys the setup, man. I'm here solo, I don't have anyone to push this trans in there, and even then it still probably would have been a pain And I don't have a trans jack, like an actual one, or any type of jack tall enough to reach there. So I got my cart, trusty Harbor Freight cart. It's a piece of like 3/4 inch or 1/2 inch particle board. 2 big ass, like, these are like fucking 8x8s, 10x10s. This here is like a 6x6 that's going up to push the trans up, and my trusty Harbor Freight jack. Boom. Here's the linkages, man. Talk about close. I mean, they should freaking go perfect. Up here, we got plenty of room for the levers. If need be, we can like dent it out a little bit more. I don't think it'll be a problem. I'm pretty sure it'll work perfect. Now we're gonna have to drop this, get up there, and see what it's like inside the car. Because really, that's gonna be the deciding factor. Alright, so probably like one of the last clips I'm gonna make tonight before I go inside and get this footage uploaded and start to edit it. But this is what I'm working on right now. You're probably like, what the hell? It's the adapter to make the shifter sit where I want. So in the car, the shifter is, this is the console, on the center line of the console. You know what I'm saying? The shifter's over here and in the dash some. So the whole point is this will actually bolt to the stock shifter bracket and push it over 2.5 inches. So I just got to get this doesn't have to be that thick, because this is actually going to bolt against the plate. So this is all going to be sandwiched over here by the bolts. I got to go get longer bolts tomorrow. I have to get a really thick enough plate that I can make my bracket come back off of. Probably going to come back about 5-6 inches. And then for now, we're going to mount this handle at a angle like this, somewhere back here. But that's it for tonight. We got the trans in today. Motor's in its final position. It's looking amazing. Gonna have to figure out something with them fans. Have to actually bolt everything up. Nothing's really mounted yet. It's all just like hand tight. Like, these are the 3 other bolts that hold the trans to the bell housing. The trans mounts to the cross member are all loose. So do all that tomorrow, and then button up this suspension and pick up some stuff for this this little mount here that I'm working on, which is hot as ever, because the welds aren't that pretty, but if it'll focus, they're decent enough, man. I haven't welded in a little while. Welded a lot at least, and that's walking around the tube like that. I'm just not that good at that. But yeah, so that's it for tonight, guys. Tomorrow we'll get some more stuff done, and that's about it.